Everyone, welcome to KK's Fit Kitchen and Merry Christmas to everyone. It's so much fun to bake in Christmas PJs while you're listening to Christmas music. So it's really important at the holiday time not to feel deprived and to have alternatives. I've been making plant-based cookies in some of my videos, and today we're going to make these delicious gingerbread men. They freeze really well. They're really, really tasty. You're going to get all these yummy, warming spices that really signal in the holidays and the fall. And we are introducing you today to a different flour. You know, I loved baking as a child, especially at the holidays. I made gingerbread houses and everything, but I used all the traditional, more inflammatory white flour, white sugar, regular conventional brown sugar, inflammatory seed type of oils and Crisco. So today we're changing all of that and showing you that you can still have an amazing tasting cookie. And it's good to teach your children this because it's not about being deprived. It's about having alternatives and using high quality ingredients. So what are the flours we're going to use today? It's TIGERNUT flour, and it's not a nut. It is actually a tubular, similar to cassava, a root. This is very high in potassium, by the way, and fiber. It's actually got 3 times the amount of potassium that cassava does. And cassava is excellent because it is a resistant starch type of flour. So it works slowly in the system to reduce to glucose, and it's going to activate and feed your intestine. Okay. Yeah, so what else about this? It's a little bit naturally sweet too. So these are, of course, both gluten-free, and we're going to make this fully plant-based. We're even going to use coconut oil in this, and this is the brand that I suggest that you use for baking only. There is a huge quality difference, and it makes a big difference in what you're using. We're also going to be removing eggs, and not that eggs are bad for everyone, but some people do have a slight allergic reaction to the proteins. And some of these reactions, where we call silent inflammation, you can't feel the inflammation and it is existing in your body. So that's why we like to remove the inflammatory type ingredients, and those typically are going to be your gluten, your dairy, eggs for some people, even soy. And in my cookbook, Bioenergetic Cooking, we're focusing on how food affects the body. And I do have a big section in the back that's got some yummy treats and desserts because we look to food to feel better. And especially at the holidays, we don't want to feel deprived. So this is all about delicious, not deprived, having alternatives and understanding, because when it came to baking and having to go gluten-free, I was a bit confused. We are going to be using alternative sugars. Yes, you do need to reduce your overall sugar. And after the holiday, you're going to want to do more green smoothies and maybe increase your intermittent fasting just to cut down on the sugar palette. But when you're using blackstrap molasses, if you grew up like I did, you knew that this was high in iron, potassium as well. And then the coconut sugar. So both of these sugars, and we're only using a total of 2/3 of a cup, a third of each. These sugars report information to the body of nutrients. So it's not just a main line of sugar right into the bloodstream, which is great. So these little beauties, and they cook so quick. They're super fun. This recipe was kid tested on Friday with my delightful family that I cook with. So hazelnut flour. I made them in hazelnut flour. If you use nut flours like almond flour, which I do in my chocolate chip cookie recipe, hazelnut is perfect for this one. It's a little bit richer nuts. You need to use arrowroot, and it comes down to about, and you will know, at least 1/4 cup per 1 cup of nut flour. Okay, so let's get started. The first thing I like to do is make the flax egg so it can be sitting. And a flax egg is simply 1 heaping tablespoon of flaxseed to 3 tablespoons of filtered water. So I just I just ground this flaxseed, and freshly ground flaxseed is so much more superior. So if you can do it, just get the organic brown flaxseed and do it yourself. Have 2 different jars. So we have 1 heaping tablespoon of flax, and then this is just filtered water here. And then we're gonna mix it around. It's gonna sit and get a little bit thickened while we do the flour, the sugars and the oil. And when you're making cookies, that's what you start with. I do it old-fashioned style with a spoon. I don't use a stand mixer. Of course, if you're making large quantities, that's a good idea. All right, so we're going to start actually with the coconut sugar, since it's dry, and the oil. It's all 1/3 cup of each of the oil and the molasses. So this is organic brown coconut sugar. And I'm almost out, so we need to replace that. And next up, we're going to do the oil, and we're going to finish with the dark molasses. Now, I love molasses in the winter and the fall in my coffee. So it's real. We had some German delicious chocolate cookies. Christmas music going on in the background. So here's 1/3 cup of the coconut oil. And you just see that this is cleaner, whatever. I've seen all different types of coconut oil. This is the preferred for chefs and baking. You will see the difference. Keep the other coconut oils for greasing your pan, or for maybe, but for baking, you need this one. Greasing your pan, or even cooking with it, frying with it, or other things. So here is the maple syrup. It's just delicious. This is going to give it that nice, rich, dark color. So we got a full 1/3 cup in there. So let's just get out the extra. And we're going to cream this together, add in the vanilla and the flax egg, and then put together the flowers. Set this aside. So wonderful. Get a little bit. This gets you really connected to your recipes. This is going to make at least 3. It makes 3 balls, large balls that you refrigerate and roll out. So this is already smelling amazing. I don't know if you've ever made toffee the holidays, but molasses, or if you get the caramel coated popcorn, you can make a homemade caramel sauce with molasses as well. Okay, so beautiful. Now we want to get a full teaspoon. I'm going to keep that one dry. Full teaspoon of vanilla. So vanilla flavors, just like they give you warming. Vanilla and cinnamon added to things, it will warm you up. So it kind of mimics. I'm going to add 1.5 teaspoons. Mimics the sweetness. So this is already set. You see how it just gets congealed a little bit. I'm just going to add this. Beautiful. And then put this together. Then we're going to mix up the flours. So we don't have to use an arrowroot flour with tiger nut and cassava, because they are fine and they're going to hold well. I love making cookies in a bowl with a spoon by hand. It just really connects you to the whole process so much better. All right, so 1 cup of each. 1 cup of cassava, 1 cup of the tiger nut. Tiger nut's going to have nice use the bag. See, so just going to get a little bit more. We're a little skimpy on that cup. Okay. I like to keep these in containers. I didn't dump it all in there yet. The cassava I have. Use a full cup here. Can use the edge of one of these to scrape it. Just need a little bit more. So cassava flour is very fine. You'll see it gets all over the place. All right, tuck that in there. Fantastic. Now we're going to add the spices. This really could not be easier. We're going to need at least a half a teaspoon of the salt here. This is a fine Himalayan pink salt. You can use a fine sea salt. The allspice and the cloves, this depends on you. Start with a quarter. If you really like it, you can add a little bit more, but I use a heaping one for me. When I'm doing with kids, depending on their palate for these strong spices, I might tone it down a little bit. So the allspice and the cloves, just start with a quarter each. Okay, and then of course, these are gingerbread men, so we need an outstanding flavor of ginger. We're going to use 2 teaspoons of the ginger. Here's my little guy. Whoopsie. So this one fits in there, so we need 4 half teaspoons. 2, 3, and 4. I put a tiny bit more in. And then Ceylon cinnamon. You're definitely going to want to get the Ceylon cinnamon. It is the richest form. Whoops, it's a quarter. The richest form of the cinnamons out there. Just get a regular cinnamon and this one, and you will see the difference. Okay. And then we need a full teaspoon of aluminum-free baking soda. We get plenty of aluminum around us in our environment, and we need to make sure that we're trying to cut it out wherever we can. So we need 2 of these. Right, fantastic. So I just like to mix this up first. And then we're just going to dump the whole thing into the wet mixture. So the great thing with this, there's no eggs. And if kids have an egg allergy or you're worried about the bacteria potentially in eggs, they can eat some of the dough while they're making it because they're playing in it, just like Play-Doh. Fun. So we just mix this up. And we're going to put it into 3 separate bowls, and then we have to chill it. I start by chilling. You can chill it for about between 10 and 15 minutes in the freezer, then move it to the refrigerator for another 15 minutes. That just accelerates. But because we've used coconut oil in here, it tends to chill up more quickly. As you know, coconut oil can get firm more quickly. So you see now you're just using the back of the spoon to mix in these flours real nice. And you're going to smell all of these smells. These are just really wonderful for your memory sensory of just comfort. So this is fantastic. This is done. Wonderful. So now we have this kind of really big sticky dough. What I'm going to do is clean up the area. Then we're going to put them into wax paper in the refrigerator. And then we'll roll them out once they're done. Thanks for joining me here today for the holiday gingerbread cookie special. So perfect. Everything is cleaned up. So now we are ready to declutter and get ready to roll these out once they've firmed up in the refrigerator. So this is like Play-Doh. It makes 3 kind of equal sized balls. It's a little bit easier to roll them out if they're not too big. So split it up into 3. Perfect. This is the fun part. So get the kids involved as much as possible, where they really feel connected and they really understand that there are alternatives and that it's not about staying away from the treats, just making them a little different. So the body reacts differently to them. So we're going to get these into the freezer. So 15 minutes, transfer them to the refrigerator, and then we'll be back to roll them out. And we roll them out not using flour, so stuff's not flying all over the place. We roll them in between parchment paper. Again, this makes it very kid-friendly and clean for adults. So we'll see you back here. While the dough is finishing chilling, we can make a little bit of royal icing. I'm not going to use much, you know, just to make little faces or bow ties for this recipe. Basically, it's about 1 tablespoon of an alternative milk. You can use coconut milk or almond milk. I'm using vanilla flavor, so I don't have to use vanilla flavoring. And 1 cup of this organic, whoops, I almost forgot what I did last time. You're going to put it through a sieve just to make sure the chunks are all out. So let's get 1 cup. I'm just going to do a cup of this. I think that's just about all we got left in the bag here. A little under a cup. So, you know, so I'll start by just adding 1 tablespoon of liquid. So just press it through the sieve. If you have a sifter, I don't have a sifter. Same thing here. Just push it through, get all of the large chunks out so it doesn't get stuck in your little pastry bag. So you don't actually need the little attachments to be able to decorate. You can just kind of do it, putting all of the frosting in here. You can cut a little hole in the bottom, and that's plenty unless you want to get really fancy, and then having the little chips is great, but just for kids, making it simple, this is fine. And just using the white royal icing keeps it really simple. So we're just getting all of the big chunks out. So you have a nice fluffy. Perfect. Okay, so we finished with that. I'll wake this up after. So let's, I'm using the vanilla malt. This is a very clean almond milk. So we probably won't need the vanilla flavoring. I mean, this frosting is really just for decoration anyway, and it's definitely really sweet. So, but the purpose is just to make our little gingerbread men come to life. Put little bow ties on. We can even make little dresses for girls. Thank you. So we're just gonna mix this up and cream it in. So we are gonna need like a little bit more. So for 1 cup, you're probably gonna need about 2 tablespoons, but just start with a little because you don't want to overdo it, then it gets runny. And then I even add a teeny bit of the coconut oil to it. And what that does, it helps it stay firm, especially in the refrigerator. Okay, so that's perfect. And we're just going to add a little touch of the coconut oil here, like a scant teaspoon. And we are all set. So let me just clean this up and then we're gonna put it into the bag. And then you just put the bag really, really tight. If you don't have a rubber band, you can use Scotch tape and get it ready. Keep it in the refrigerator till you're ready to go. And then this becomes very kid friendly as well. So we've loaded up the icing. You don't cut the hole in until after it's chilled. I have a rubber band, so that works really easily. So we're just gonna tighten this really tight. And if you don't think it's tight enough, you can add a little bit of tape to it. You just don't want the stuff to squish out the top while we're applying pressure to decorate the little faces. So that should be good. We're going to put this in the refrigerator and we're just about ready to roll out the dough. Okay, so the dough is nice and firm. And what makes this nice and neat is that we use parchment paper on top and on the bottom. That way there's no flour going all over the place, allows you to cook in your PJs without getting all messy. So now we're just going to roll this out, and I get the kids involved in this as well. They understand the math of making something even, and they can feel it like this. It really helps them connect to the whole process, and they really understand, especially if they've played with Play-Doh, that this is pretty much the consistency of that. And we talk about the thickness. You don't want them too thick, because then they're not nice and crunchy. We don't want them too thin because they will burn, and we want them all about the same so they cook together. Of course, sometimes the head and the feet are a little bit thinner than the body. It's the way it's rolled out here. So nice and easy. We have big ones, but I love this little one. And these make nice little snacks. Like if you just want a couple of them with your tea or coffee, you don't want to have an entire one. So it makes a great mix. Or these little ones can be used with gingerbread houses. And they're perfect for the scraps. So we just align it and then take off the excess around and try to use the dough that we have most wisely. If you've cut out stuff before, you know how this is. Super fun. So we'll leave that piece right there for small ones. And then I just use a spatula. Then we're gonna place it onto the parchment paper to go into the oven. The oven is set. I set mine at 360. If yours is nice and warm, 350 is fine. I just think that my oven here sometimes is not as hot as it could be. So this is a nice, easy way. Make sure you don't lose a limb when you're transporting the little guys. So these little ones are super cute. And then you just pick up the scraps and you just re-roll them. You just keep re-rolling them while this is nice and chilled still. Now, your kids can even eat the dough at this point. This is all really body-friendly ingredients to eat raw. But again, we just put the top back on and just keep rolling them out. So I'm gonna finish up and then we'll get them in the oven. They only have to cook between 11 and 13 minutes. So we start at 11 and you check them. You just want the edges to be a little bit browned up so they're nice. And we'll get this all filled up. One more large one, and then we'll get these. And you get the picture. So this is just fun. You can even have them roll it out like you would Play-Doh to a long piece like this. And if they want, they can add a little bit to the top of the head. So it's a little bit like hair. Just let your kids have fun. It's wonderful. So I'm going to finish up here. We're going to put them in the oven and then we will be back when they're nice and toasty. So when you start smelling the spices in the air, you know the cookies are getting done. Look how super cute those are. And of course, I've made a lot of little ones because I like having a few little ones for a treat. Now, because there's so many stone countertops, stone is a great conductor. It will absorb the heat. So I just take the parchment paper and I lift them right onto the stone. That way you don't have to worry about putting them onto a cooling rack. You know, just make your life easier, especially, you know, for the kids. I don't have to worry about breaking one, trying to get it into position. So here are some new ones. Just get these onto the sheets. We're going to add these in there now. Let me just trim this. And once those are cool, then we're going to quickly put some cute little faces and bow ties and things like that on. But nothing like having the house smell so divine. Now with our icing nice and chilled, you're just going to snip the top off this. Just enough to get, see, a little bit going here. As adults, we don't really need the extra icing, but gingerbread men need a little bit of character, and kids are going to love it. When you have your dominant hand on the top to push it down, and you can just help them. They know, let them design and let them just feel confident in making whatever design they want on here. They understand the little face. They'll understand little buttons. So do simple things. So something even just simple like that is easy. You can make little lines by the feet and the arms. And as this warms up, it's going to come out even quicker. So you might even want to turn that first button into a bow tie. Just fill in your bow tie. So really, really simple. You can make a girl. So you can turn this into a dress with a little collar. And if they're really young, just hold the bag with them and then let them do it. Put some little buttons on the dress. And then make like a skirt. With any design that you want, they'll get the picture. And if the icing you can control enough, you can give the girl a little bit of hair. So just something really cute. And you see how these little ones are just great to have. Those are great for like a little tea party or for after dinner with your coffee. And that's really it, guys. So these plant-based, gluten-free gingerbread cookies made with TIGERNUT Flour. You can order it right on Amazon because you can't get it in Whole Foods anymore. So give this a try. It's perfect for cookies and some of the alternative. You can even use it in, you know, some of the other cookie recipes, but try those out. I've got several plant-based cookies. So Merry Christmas, everyone. Thanks for tuning into KK's Kitchen today. And I really encourage you to try these delicious little gems, especially with the kids.